Hey everyone! We at Neo4j are super excited that the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists has chosen to use the power of graph databases to investigate the connections between the various entities in the Panama Papers. They've also chosen to release the database they've used so that you too can investigate those connections. Today we're going to show you how to download that database directly from the ICIJ and start writing cipher queries in the Neo4j browser so that you too can understand the data. And now I'm going to visit offshoreleaks.icij.org, which is where they distribute the Panama Papers. You have to read this statement, which says that there are legitimate uses for offshore companies and trusts, and agree to it. And then I'm going to click on the download button at the top right of the page here. And this download button will take me to the download page, which has a couple different ways that they distribute the Panama Papers dataset. We're going to download the Mac version. There's also a Windows version as well as CSV files, which can be used with Neo4j and the command line import tool, Neo4j import, or load CSV within Cipher. Now my download is about complete here, and I'm going to open it up. And it's going to untar and ungzip the download file. And that gives me a Panama Papers directory and a README file where you can look at more information, but we're going to take you through the process here. I'm going to launch this Neo4j command, and I'm going to open that with my terminal. And now I need to agree that the unidentified developer ICIJ is trusted. I'm going to open that up. And this opens up the Neo4j launcher. And we can see here the Panama Papers database has been configured. I can start Neo4j, and then in a few seconds it will give me a URL on localhost that will open up the Neo4j browser. And we can see we're on port 7474 here. And we have the Neo4j browser, and I have the option here to register for the browser sync. I'm going to say no thanks, so that's very useful as you get more experience with Neo4j. I have to use the default password here of Neo4j and type in a new password. Neo4j 2 is what I use. And I'm going on here and seeing the guide for the Panama Papers data. It's an interactive guide, all sorts of interesting information here in the video. And then we can see the shape of the data. Now this is the data model that they've loaded the Panama Papers into. We have our officers, we have our entities, which are essentially the companies, and we have the addresses and intermediaries for these companies. And you can review that in a little bit more detail. But if we continue on here, we can see a little bit more information about how graphs helped the ICIJ investigation. And we're going to come back here. But first we want to execute a more simple query, which is basically finding us all of the intermediary ofs where the intermediary contains Mosaic. And if we execute this query here, it's a very simple result, and we can see the location of where all these intermediary companies are located in. BVI, PMA, SEY, etc. So this is the location, tabular results, as you may be accustomed to with a relational database, but now we're going to show you the real power of a graph database and some graph algorithms. We're going to execute this query here, which finds all shortest paths between officers whose names contain Smith and officers whose names contain Grant. And this query is going to return its results in the form of a graph with nodes and the relationships between the nodes. Now we're going to expand to full screen here and show you what this graph looks like. Here we can see we have the officers in purple, and we see how the officers are connected to each other through entities which share the same address and potentially the same intermediary company. So we can see that. We can also choose to make some of these fields a little bit larger. So if we want to go to the address and we want to make the address node display the name of the address rather than the data source, we can do that. And then we can also, like I said, make some of these nodes a little bit larger by clicking on the name of the node as well, or the label of the node, and choosing the size. So here we made the officer nodes all a bit larger. Well, that is a basic query here of the Panama Papers data, and you can play around with this yourself, but we're going to first show you, before we get going here, we're going to show you the last page in this interactive guide that the ICIJ put together. And this has links to the Cypher reference card and the Neo4j developer documentation, both of which will be very useful for you as you explore Neo4j and the Panama Papers dataset. We hope you find some interesting things in this dataset, and feel free to reach out to us on Twitter at Neo4j. Thank you very much and have a great day.